I don't know why I always struggle with this part. Like one of the best presents I ever got from Soraya was these thermal glasses. They keep the heat really, really well. And one thing I don't like about espressos is that you can't drink them for too long. It's really nice, and I love the strength of that coffee, that taste. But it's gone so quickly. That they're only in espresso pods, so they're like dog shit coffee, but it's still nice. It's still that real quintessential coffee taste, but it's gone really quickly, which is annoying. I'm actually thinking of upgrading my coffee setup, which, like I said, I use it like an espresso pod machine now, so upgrading it would not be very hard. But when I was living in Cork, I was using my AirPress, which I loved. Um, but I'm thinking of doing some sort of like pour over method or something a little bit more hands on, that can be a little bit more ritualistic, and that I can use higher quality beans and like maybe use the hand grinder or something like that. I had an electric one. I had a very bad electric grinder that was just super loud and a real pain in the ass to clean. So like I just was not incentivized to use it whatsoever. So that didn't last terribly long. So yeah, I must look into doing all these things. There's powerlifting is a really big coffee community, and I know there was a series where I think it was like Jack Thornton, Garben, myself, and a few others would like, especially over COVID, I think we were just losing our minds. We were tagging each other in our like morning coffee. So yeah, I must revisit that. I've been wanting to make a YouTube video on my cut for a while. I was only looking at the calendar there, and I kind of realized how long it's been, or how long I've been doing it. But in the last week or so, and even in the last couple of days, it's been super, super busy. So I was away in work on Monday in Leitrim. I was gone for the 12 hours, and Thursday, Friday I was in Buncrana, I was in Donegal for the two full days. And then we had our intervarsities competition Saturday, Sunday. So it was a very, very busy week. Not one that allows for much structure, although I came in fairly prepared for Leitrim. I had a couple of meals prepared. Thursday and Friday I had like 2 or 3 meals prepared, so that was pretty good. But I've really been struggling now from a dietary point of view. I've even felt yesterday that I was snacking quite a bit more. I wasn't quite as satisfied, and I kind of nearly forgotten the approach that I had taken, which was acknowledge the feeling of hunger and know that, look, it may not be hunger, it may just be that little bit of boredom or anxiety or nervousness or all these different triggers that can cause people to eat that aren't just straight up hunger. In the past, for the first 12 weeks of this cut, actually, is what I found it to be, I was very good at noticing that hunger and just kind of leaving it to the side, not being very reactive to it, which is super, super helpful. That was probably because I saw where I wanted to go roughly, and I was like, well, I have a lot of progress to make. Whereas now, my latest, it's actually not even my latest weigh-in, was 83.8, and I knew the 83 kilo mark was what I wanted to kind of reach for. I thought I would be significantly leaner than I am now, and I thought it would take an awful lot more time. So it's good that at least one of them was false. It didn't take that long, like 12 weeks, and really it was just the last 6 weeks since I moved back to Kildare that I've really kind of put the foot down. So I'd nearly say even 6 to 8 weeks of a proper cut is all I've been doing. So it's been fairly speedy. It's been fairly aggressive now as well. Like I've been on about 2,000 calories for at least the last month. And it's been okay. It's been fairly sustainable. But like I said, when I saw that 83.8 mark, is a very typical thing that I do, that kind of checked that off in my brain, and my adherence has really been challenged. And as well, with last week being quite hectic, I afforded myself a few treats, a little bit of flexibility, and even that has challenged my adherence much, much more. I know it's definitely is a good thing for adherence to kind of be flexible. But I found from an acute perspective, going cold turkey was way easier because I forgot what these things tasted like, or I forgot what it was like to go out for a couple of drinks, to go out for dinner. It was easier just to shut that off, and definitely that's not the healthy approach long term. It's not what I want to do long term at all. But since I've afforded myself those treats, I really feel adherence is being challenged, and it kind of shows you how people do crash diets and they can lose a ton of weight and they can appear healthier and better, but there it's just going to go back to square one because that cold turkey is not sustainable. It's not great for lifestyle changes, which is not exactly how I would put myself in this bracket. Certainly getting more of a handle on my structure and my nutrition is a great lifestyle change that I'm aiming to take forward now into this bulking period that's going to come up. But yeah, it's tricky. I'm trying to remind myself that I was always, and this is a great conversation I had with Andrew Rowe there over the weekend at universities. Like, I was always one to see the opposite of what I was doing and say, no, I should be doing that. So right now I'm cutting, I'm looking at videos online and say, I need to be bulking, I need to be massing, I need to spend most of my time in a surplus to grow and get stronger and all this. But then when I was at 92, 93, I was like, I should be cutting, so it's that false dichotomy is very, very challenging to try and deal with, so I'm at that kind of low point now. Even earlier on, I was thinking that, right, I'm at 83, even though I weighed in at 84.7 this morning. So my brain was just like, bulk again, let's go right now, you're wasting time. Although that's totally not the case, On my weigh-ins, like I said, I'm 84.7 today. That 83.8 that I had last week, like, weight fluctuations are totally normal. So to say that I'm one or the other, I think is short-sighted and a little bit silly. It's more the trend and the average that matters, or that is more representative, So that 83.8 could have been on a low day. This 84.7 could be on a high day. It's silly to even say which one is right or wrong. They're both valid. It's just data, So to combat this doubt and anxiety and uncertainty, I'm going to change a couple of things. So the meal prep that I do on a weekly basis, I'd say change that up a little bit to kind of treat myself to these newer, maybe more attractive meals. They're only attractive because they're newer, and it can maybe give me that little bit of a boost to motivation coming into the last 4 weeks. I'm going to set, this is what the 4 weeks matters, like I'm going to set another goal, a bit more of a tangible goal, to lift a certain amount, weighing in at 83, but I'm going to keep the rest of it a little bit ambiguous, I did entertain the notion of competing at 83, but like I said earlier on, in terms of spending most of your time in a surplus and bulking and growing, the next competition for me is likely going to be October. It's kind of too far away to maintain this low weight. And I think I hadn't even really considered actually the idea of going back up and coming back down again over a period of 6 weeks. I'd rather not be cutting into a competition. It's not actually something I've ever done. But the idea of that I think is a little bit silly. But anyway, what I mean is that, look, October is so far away. By the end of May, it'll be another 5 months. To maintain at this low body weight certainly is doable. It'll be very, very tricky. But I think I would rather training be more optimal in a slow surplus now, mind you, to go in and be stronger and to hit all-time PRs then in October, because I don't really care about dots. I would rather just be bigger and stronger, So we'll see about that. I kind of fell into this. I was conscious of cutting or improving my body composition for a while, even before my competition in February, and I weighed in at about 89 then. And I was conscious straight afterwards in prep for my adventure race that I needed to be losing some of this weight, or if I wanted to survive this training and if I wanted to survive this prep and this race, it would have been beneficial to weigh in significantly lighter. So that was kind of the main driving force. That was the kick up my ass for this cut. And then afterwards I was like, this is going okay, and I feel pretty good. I'm very happy with the changes I'm seeing in my body composition. And I was quite conscious of the fact that I'd never really done a proper cut before, and by extension, I've actually never even done a proper bulk before. I was kind of just main gaining But it's kind of really since the race that I've kind of kicked things up, whether that's even 3 weeks ago. That'll be 3 weeks ago now, 3, 4 weeks, yeah. So even since that time, I've been pushing this fairly hard, and the change has been quite aggressive, you know. So another 4 or 5 weeks till the end of this powerlifting block that I'm on, I will aim to lift a certain amount of weight under 83. And I think after that, if it's a success or if it's not, bulking back up, aiming to gain the weight. And I'll consult with a close friend of mine who I'm going to work with nutrition coaching. We're going to see roughly the rate of gain that'll be good to kind of preserve this surplus as long as possible, and still ideally come in with a nice body composition into October and hit some all-time PRs. I really enjoyed Jane Jones on the Iron Mindset podcast recently when she spoke about how weight classes are flexible. You know, it's not an all or nothing thing. It's, again, not a false dichotomy. Whereas that is definitely something I'd feared in the past. And even the idea of coming back down to 83, even if it was more appropriate from a body composition point of view, and again, tying in this idea of periodically bulking and cutting to take advantage of training in a surplus, even if cutting back to 83 made more sense, as I feel it does now, I was totally afraid to go back. I would have seen that as regression, or I would have seen that as getting just smaller and skinnier and weaker. So I loved hearing her thoughts on, you know, weight classes can be flexible and you shouldn't tie your identity to any one weight class, you know. So going back into the 93s and being okay with weighing in at maybe 86, 87, 88, 89, whatever. Not necessarily going in saying I need to weigh 92.9 or 93 on the dot, is very therapeutic coming into it. You know, it puts my mind at ease already that I'm in no rush at all. But having and setting a strict goal, or not a strict goal, a rough idea of where I want to be, will be very, very beneficial, you know? Yeah. No, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. It's been an incredibly beneficial experience overall. And again, like I said, one thing that I aim to periodically revisit, whether it's mini cuts to kind of tidy up body composition in longer periods of gaining, or if I'm just feeling a bit fluffy, to cut back is grand, you know.